space. The final frontier. These are the voyages of the Starship Enterprise. Its 5-year mission: to explore strange new worlds, to seek out new life and new civilizations, to boldly go where no one has gone before.
Hailing frequencies open, and welcome to Star Trek Discoverage, the live podcast that boldly goes into excruciating detail about this week's episode of Star Trek Strange New Worlds. I'm your host, Aaron Coker, a.k.a. Caliban, and I know Star Trek writers that use subtext, and they're all cowards. Joining me on the show, as usual, is my co-host. She's also the co-host of the Generations Geek podcast, a more or less family-friendly celebration of geekdom. It's Ella Pearson. Ella, welcome back to Discoverage.
Thank you.
It's great to be back with you here, and we're here the third week of Strange New Worlds. This is the part of the show where we talk about the news, but I can't find any news in the world of Trek. Trek is just humming along, and so there's nothing really to complain about. But how have you been?
Good. I was in the future home of Starfleet Academy
Really?
this week.
Really?
Yes. For a while, Thursday to, I think, Wednesday, so just under a week. Took a lot of pictures, went to a Star Trek 4 filming location.
Oh.
Pretty fun.
Did you see the nuclear vessels?
I tried. I couldn't find them.
They wouldn't let. Yeah, right. You had to ask some lady. She didn't know.
I couldn't find the nuclear vessels. She was
Alameda,
like, I think they're across the bay in Alameda, and I was like, I don't know where Alameda is. Everyone calls it SF. I thought it was San Francisco.
Right. Don't say Frisco. People hate that.
Frisco sounds better. SF doesn't sound cool.
I just think it sounds cool. Yeah, but I don't think people
I feel like
that.
San Fran.
Yeah, San Fran.
But no,
yeah,
everyone said SF. Literally every person said SF, including my friend who's gone to school there for about 5 years. So I was like, I guess I gotta get up at the times. All I know is Star Trek things. The people who I was with were not Star Trek fans, but I was like, here's the screen cap from Star Trek 4, right?
Right, yeah.
And this is what we're trying to copy. And we did. So follow Star Trek Unlimited to see the pictures in San Francisco.
Trek is such, here we are 55 years later after the Cage and we're doing this show, but like Trek is so evergreen that I'd have to imagine that there are still Star Trek tourists. I'm looking at one, but people who go to a place and go, is this the corner where, is this the pawn shop that Kirk went to, or this location? Yeah.
I'll tell you something. I Googled it because I was like, somebody's got to have like a new thing by now. And I reread the same article I read when I toured the University of San Francisco in 2015.
Oh, okay.
It was the same article from the same lady. And it's, it's like the corner where he said double dumbass on you.
Yeah, yeah.
It's walking where they were, Kirk and Spock were walking by Golden Gate Bridge.
Okay.
And then they say that they land the Bird of Prey in Golden Gate Park, but they didn't film that in Golden Gate Park.
No, I can't remember what it's called, but it's a different.
Something,
it's a different part.
Rogers.
Yeah. No. Rogers, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Call Larry Nemechek. He works there.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's great. And hopefully you got everything done that you needed to do, or were you just there for fun?
It was for fun. My friend is graduating, so we went to visit her. But I said, what I need is a Star Trek photo shoot. So if we could do that really quick, just really fast. We had a good time. Made a friend at a bar. The friend was a dog.
Okay.
But the dog was in the bar.
Nice.
So pretty sick.
You didn't see a punk on a bus playing his music too loud, did you?
No, when I looked, because we took the BART, we were out. We were taking public transit. We were going crazy. I didn't get on a bus, but I did get on the BART, and I was looking. But they weren't there. There wasn't.
Yeah, I think he's in LA now. He relocated, so.
He moved.
Yeah, you missed him. Well,
Yeah.
it's good that you had a good
Barely.
time. I've never been to San Francisco, but I hope to go one day. I hear it's very nice. It's very beautiful.
It was fun. I got a bar to recommend to you
Okay, great. Yeah.
if you like dogs.
Okay, yeah, sure. Let me know about that later, unless they want to pay us, and you can let me know now. But let's talk about our episode for tonight. It's the third episode of the new Star Trek series, Strange New Worlds. It's an episode called Ghosts of Illyria, and we're here to talk all about it. But first, as always, a warning. We're setting a course for the spoiler zone, listeners, so be warned if you haven't seen the episode, spoilers are incoming. The official synopsis for Ghosts of Illyria is, the USS Enterprise encounters a contagion that ravages the ship. One by one, the entire crew is incapacitated except for number one, Una Chin Riley, who must now confront a secret she's been hiding as she races to find a cure. The episode was written by Akela Cooper and Bill Wolkoff and directed by Leslie Hope, who I said, that name sounds familiar, and she's an actress. She's been in, some stuff. She was Terry Bauer in the first season of 24, and so we've got another actress who is making the transition to a director, which is great. The start date for the episode is 1224.3.
Sorry, my mom just called me on FaceTime.
Get out of here, Mom. We're doing Star Trek stuff.
Mom, you ruined my frame.
Mom, damn it, Mom. I'm
on live on Twitch.
I don't have any real facts for this episode, but I have a lot to say about the episode. But first, I want to know what you thought about the episode Ghosts of Illyria.
I thought it was pretty good. I had a good time. I think I maybe enjoyed the first two episodes more, but I thought it was like a solid episode. I just felt like there were lots of like reveals.
Yes.
And then there was also lots of like, but you're not in trouble.
Yeah.
Which I love, but I was also like, we've kind of been here before. I did like it. The light thing was fun. I felt like they could have leaned into that a little bit more instead of like, I felt like they use it a little bit as a way to like, oh, we're going to reveal that number one is Illyria, because we didn't know that, right?
No.
Shock.
No, that's a reveal.
What did you think?
Oh boy. I thought that there was 15 pounds of sausage in a 5-pound bag or whatever it is. This was an episode that if it was a suitcase, you'd have to sit on it to get it closed. Like there was a lot going on.
And I do every time.
And yes, and I thought it was interesting that it started with a lightning storm in space. So that was fun.
It's a lightning storm in space.
I'm like, uh-oh, I hope that's not a bad sign.
My favorite line.
It's weird that like, so far, I think we've talked about this before because it's been a pattern, but the show is really following a playbook, I think. And this is let's do an episode early on where everybody gets goof juice, or gets crazy gas and acts weird and gets sick. And TNG and TOS did it with their Naked's Time and Now. DS9 did it with Babel. I don't think Voyager did it because they had that shortened first season, but there are so many episodes of Voyager where people are acting goofy for one reason or another. Enterprise did it. What's that?
They don't need anything to add.
Oh, no, they don't. That's just normal. We're normal. Enterprise did it with Strange New World. And so this is their sort of entry into that. And I thought that it was interesting that they didn't just say, oh, we've got a disease, we have to race to find the cure. But it directly referenced things that are kind of enshrined in Star Trek lore. When you hear that the Illyrians genetically altered themselves, you think, well, when is Lieutenant Lon going to come in here and be a part of it? And she was. But I thought it was really interesting that they also reveal that Una is also genetically engineered. So it's like, you're an augment, but I'm an augment too. And it's kind of like a weird doubling of character aspects. Like, I hope we don't find out that she's part Vulcan or something like that later. But it's an interesting backstory for Una. And I think that as far as all the reveals go in the episode, I think that was probably the one that was handled the best, because you see that she is being affected by this, but differently. And, later on she knocks out Hemmer and just sort of like picks him up, and you're like, she seems kind of, I mean, she could be really strong, but like something's going on there. And then,
I was like, she's ripped, and Hemmer is like light. His bones are made of feathers.
I have a feeling that they, when she was carrying him, they did this kind of like slow motion thing, and it's like, don't use slow motion if your actress is carrying what is clearly a dummy, like a CPR dummy.
I was a little bit like, oh,
like Hemmer's thin, but he's a little too thin. But
not that thin.
But like, we get the idea that like, okay, so we're going to learn something here at some point. I want to know what you thought about the fact that Wow, this is interesting, and I don't want to piss anybody off or step on anybody's toes, but the Illyrians were like gay people, right? This whole thing is like a metaphor for like conversion therapy, right? The Illyrians like destroyed themselves trying to be what the Federation wanted them to be. You know what I mean? And near the end, Una has the whole speech about how I wish I could just be who I am, and I was feeling like a real heavy kind of metaphor going on that I. Oh, you just got it. Okay.
I was like, because they were saying Illyrian, and I feel like I was not putting together, like I did not put the puzzle pieces together on like, oh, I know them.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I honestly I don't know if they had ever been in the show Star Trek before, but that's what I was getting, and and then her being like, well, you're going to drum me out of Starfleet now, obviously, because I you didn't ask, but I told. And he's like, no, you're one of the good ones, and you fight against all the stereotypes. And it's like, oh boy.
That was a little bit.
I don't know how I feel about any of this.
Bestie Christopher.
Yeah, if that's what they wanted to communicate, I felt like the message was really mixed. The message was obviously positive. She's great. We want her on our team. The Illyrians, had this sort of tragic, end to them. They had a disease, that spreads between them. Like, I just kind of felt like, okay, Star Trek, your thumb is heavily on the scale here as far as the metaphor goes.
I guess I did not read it that way at all. But yeah. I see how the second that you start thinking about it that way, that you're like, oh, that's pretty heavy-handed.
Yeah. Yeah, I just didn't. I don't. We've talked about, especially with Discovery, which has done a great job of just making the diversity text instead of subtext. So we don't need the Riddler with a two-tone face. We've got people of all races. We have people of all genders and orientations. Yeah, Paul Dano. Not that Riddler, but yeah. That'd be interesting. In Star Trek 4. Oh, Captain. But so I like that. And you can still tell stories like the great scene between Stamets and Adira, when Adira is like, I think it's they. I think it's a they. That's what I'm going to be. And he's like, okay, great. And you can still educate without having to say that like Adira invented, being non-binary.
Yeah.
And so I think we made that progress.
Didn't they though?
Well, I don't know. But this, if I'm maybe I'm totally wrong here, but if that's kind of like the basis of the metaphor, it's like, I don't feel like we need metaphors like that anymore. Maybe we do. Maybe this can teach us a lesson, or it's really an apt metaphor. But I just felt like, if this was, have you ever read the script, the Blood and Fire script, the David Gerald TNG script? Oh. David Gerald, writer on TOS and then also on TNG later, and he had a script about a AIDS metaphor where like people are getting like this blood disease and they're trying to figure out how to like fix it. And there's also a crew member who's gay, and it's not like, it doesn't have anything to do with him getting the disease or anything. It's just kind of an also thing. And it was basically just nixed by the production. And it's one of the reasons that Gerald was like, okay, I'm out of here. I'm going to go. Yeah. And it was later turned into, I think, a Star Trek Continues or maybe a New Voyages episode. And it's been published. And it just feels like this kind of felt like it, was like a unused script for an early season of TNG or something like that, if that's what the metaphor is. And I don't want to hit this too hard. There's a lot of other things we can talk about in the episode, but like that's what I saw when I kind of watched this. Mm-hmm. She is different, and it's a problem, and the Federation doesn't accept her, and she feels like she has to hide it, and she's got this other character who's also like, I feel like that too. Like, that's kind of the vibes that I was getting from it.
Yeah, no, I see that. I guess it just, like, for me, I didn't even look at it like through that lens, just because it was like, since she said they change themselves for every planet they go to or whatever, I wasn't really thinking about it like, oh, like the Federation hates Illyrians because they are, a certain way.
Yeah.
I was just thinking about like,
and they have to make themselves, be a different way to be, to fit in. So,
yeah.
So anyway, just put that out there. That is not the only thing that's happening in this episode. There are a lot of things happening in this episode. And as a very clumsy transition, I'll say really quick that, yes, there is a Farscape episode that is a lot like this episode. There's an episode of Farscape called Crackers Don't Matter, where the ship is invaded by this light. There's a character that feels intense pleasure when this light hits them. There's also this blind guy who's trying to destroy the ship, and he's affected differently because he can't see the light, and people become addicted to this light. So I see what you're doing. I see what you're doing. People writing a sci-fi show 20 years after another sci-fi show was written. What did you think? Let's talk about the other big reveal. What did you think about Dr. Mabenga's secret?
I don't understand why it's like, could they not, there's no way to store the pattern of his daughter anywhere else? I was just like, it's a little weird that you on the ship where you work, you're like, my kid's in there. So no, I would rather it not be up here, which is like a good. I guess I wish it had been its own sort of episode, maybe.
Yes.
Or like maybe an episode ending with like sticker and the pattern buffer.
I think
we've got the papers.
Yeah, I think it's very strange to try to shove this in here. I don't know why they did it, especially when it leaves you with, two big reveals at the end. Also, you can't have two people try to quit within 5 minutes of each other, like Una's like, well, I quit. And Mabenga's like, I quit. And then it's both like, no, you can't quit. You're going to keep working here. And it's like, okay, it's like the same beat, like twice, right at the end of the episode.
I was watching with my roommates, and one of them, she's like, so the rules on the ship are just for fun? Nobody pays attention to the rules? So I was kind of like,
I think I've met her in a Facebook group.
Well...
Everybody's hair is just going to be like this? Okay, fine. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's, it's a good, I like that beat. And we've seen that before in Star Trek. It's a good beat to have, that we have these rules, but, treating people like equals is more important than the rules. Being kind to people is more important than the rules. But it's like they do it within several minutes of the last one. She has signochemia, which means she's turning into a swan, I guess, because signo means swan. And like, as far as the pattern buffer thing goes, it's all, wibbly wobbly. Who cares?
Yeah.
Scotty did it, around this time, I suppose, trapped himself in a pattern buffer. So I can believe it. What I want to know is, like, every night, does he go down, sneaks down to the gigantic sickbay? Do you see that wide shot of sickbay where there's just like,
yes.
It's like, who knew the sickbay was that big?
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah. Does he go down there every night and like gets the book out and like, okay, honey, I'm going to read to you. And then like, all right.
Not every night.
Time for, let me tuck you in.
Because then she'd be spending too much time outside the pattern buffer. Let me tuck you in, y'all.
I want chicken nuggies. You don't need to eat. Zoom.
You don't need to eat. Goodbye, honey.
Yeah. Obviously we will definitely return to this, but I think when we do, we need to explore the ethical questions of this. If it is, right to keep your daughter in a computer instead of letting.
She was like little.
Yeah, and when did he start? Like, did this happen like 10 years ago? Like, has she been a child this whole time?
She's like.
That's all we need. Another kid who's been trapped as a kid for hundreds of years. But anyway, yeah, go ahead.
She's like, we read this book every time.
Get another book.
Get her a new book. Get her another book, dude.
Beam some crayons in here. For Jesus.
Yeah, literally. What are you doing?
Yeah.
You're the chief medical officer on the flagship in Starfleet, just like you said. I think they got some more books in there.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a little odd.
Play some Klingon opera.
Something that, yeah.
You get a physical book. Isn't that like a thing that's kind of weird? Now that I'm saying that, isn't that like a thing they don't really have physical books that often?
Yeah. I mean, Spock gives Kirk a book for his birthday,
But that's like a big gesture, right? Because they're in love.
Yeah, that's true. And they hold each other when they're in trouble in this episode. I don't know. I suppose it is what it is. So anyway, yeah, I hope that we will definitely come back to this. I hope that we do, but I just felt like it was weird. Something else that I'm not sure if it was because too much was going on, but I wish that we got a sense of what the disease did more, because often when they do these, crazy gas episodes, people become like murderous or they become, they fence without a shirt on.
I wanted him to go full silly. When he was taking his pants off in the
Yeah.
corridor,
Yeah.
I was like, oh, we're going full. This is what I want. I was
Yeah.
like, I want a full crazy. I want Sulu with the sword. Okay.
Yeah.
I want to go nuts.
Ensign Chalamet. Yeah.
That is exactly what we said when he came on. Actually, both me and my roommate yelled at the same time. I said, why is Timothy Chalamet opening the cabinet? And she said, what's Loki doing?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But
he looked remarkably like Timothy Chalamet.
They want the light, and then if you take the light away, I guess they get mad. But also they can be themselves, but they can also be kind of not themselves, because Dr. Mabenga's like, all right, I'm gonna keep checking on this, and then he's like, he turns the lights back up, and so it just wasn't really like I don't know, it wasn't really like concrete, but I don't know, it's a weird illness. And then of course there are the ghosts of Illyria that we see. I feel like that was a product of just needing to give like the stars of the show something to do. Unfortunately, I was
like, were Ethan and Anson busy this week? Like,
yeah. They'll just be on the other soundstage, I guess. But because
exactly. Which I like the everybody else on the show was really, really good.
Yeah.
I do love Anson and Ethan. They're really good at what they do. I like the characters. I want to see them.
Yeah, I wanted to know more about these like energy ghosts. Like, are they all, because they're just like, crazy, let's get out of here. Like, are they going to come back, and can they turn them back into people, or can they help them?
But they probably can't. I kind of assume that they were like the final stage of the light thing. Like, how they kind of they glowed when the light hit them.
Yeah,
I kind of assume that it was like you kind of explode and then you are that.
Yeah, they're just one with the universe now.
Yeah.
What else? Got to see more Hammer. Like Hammer. I like the character so far.
Yeah, he's wild.
I like that he seems to run a real tight ship. I like when they announce that he just goes like, and everybody's like, oh, and everybody just leaves, goes to their quarters.
He's like, he thinks that he wants to be as close to Q as he can but he's not. So he's just like,
yeah,
get it done.
I'm not a Q, but when I snap my fingers, things happen. Yeah. I am a genius. Yeah, he was really great. What else? I like the fact that the navigator that we've seen, I don't know if this is a reference to the original series, but the person in the navigator chair just like keeps changing. Like, they don't have a Chekhov yet. Maybe in season 2 we'll get a Chekhov. So it's just like some random person every week, like it is on the old TOS show. I kind of like that.
That would be funny if that was a purposeful callback. They're like, yeah, just keep switching them out.
If they get
the next extra.
If they get a Chekhov for season 2, will it be like a Harry Styles type guy, or like what's?
No, we can only hope.
What's the modern Chekhov?
The new album comes out tonight. Funny you say that. The new album comes out at midnight.
Well, I was tapped into something that I shouldn't be able to understand, but I do. Or like, no, it's too close to Chekhov. Like I was saying on another one of the many podcasts I was on, that like I want like Megan Thee Stallion to be a guest player on the show. Not like appear as something's trapped in this pattern buffer. It's Megan Thee Stallion.
It's Megan Thee Stallion.
Yeah, no, but just have her like play a character. I think that would be kind of cool.
Dude, Lizzo
would be great too. Yeah.
Lizzo would absolutely demolish a bit role on Star Trek.
I wonder if she's
I feel like she's a Trekkie. Yeah, I feel like deep down, I feel like she'd vibe.
I like that everybody on the ship needed vitamin D. It's like, same. I've been inside for 2 years. Know exactly what that's like.
Summer's hitting.
Yeah, it's coming.
We can go out there now.
Get my my screen block or
as
sunblock.
long as it's not hailing or thunderstorms.
Yeah, well, yeah.
We're having some rough weather, but other than that, soak up the sun.
I loved Una's hair. I thought her hair was really great.
The braid, yeah, it was very.
I love everybody's hair on the show, but I think that's having that one thing that's kind of like, oh, this is kind of like a connection to the '60s origins of the show. I think it just looked really cute.
I do miss, what was it? Yeoman Rand had the the like checkerboard weave beehive.
I predict they'll try to fit that in somehow. Somebody will have something like that.
They better.
It doesn't make any sense for Yeoman Rand is probably in junior high, like at this point, right? So I don't think they could have her, but
No. Somebody, a fashion icon for her to look up to in junior high.
whoever this guest character that comes on that we were talking
Yeah.
about, Lady Gaga appears, and yeah, I know that
Lady Gaga couldn't still kill that beehive look.
I know Rihanna's a Star Trek fan, so maybe get Rihanna in there.
Rihanna.
That'd be really cool.
With the Fenty Beauty.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Lifetime supply of Fenty Beauty for the
bring
just
that
for Trekkies.
the green eyeshadow back. Yeah.
Stop. They do a Fenty Beauty Star Trek collection instead of the MAC collection. The MAC collection was good, but I feel like Rihanna could. I don't know.
Yeah. I'm outside. That's it. That's all I know how to talk
What
about.
did you think about the MAC Star Trek
Yeah,
collection?
yeah, you got me.
What did you think about the color pigment
Fake
on
fan.
that Klingon lipstick?
Fake
Not
Fenty
great.
fan. Yeah. Do you think that Hemmer has specialized tools, or do you think that future Star Trek tricorders have like a braille mode or a voice activated mode?
I was gonna say I think because if Star Trek is a perfect future, I would say that every
accessible.
device is somehow accessible, or it
Yeah.
has like a mode where it's like, okay, now someone who's visually impaired is using this. Beep boop beep bop.
Yeah, I'd like to see that. I think that'd be cool.
That'd be super cool. I would love a shot of that.
Because we know that
Maybe the defibrillator.
Yeah, or that too. Yeah.
Tell me the braille.
We know that he can use the transporter because he transports a piece of the planet's core. Oh, excuse me, mantle up. It's like what? Okay.
That was funny.
Yeah, somebody had an idea and they ran with it.
Mm-hmm. I like him. I like how he doesn't really talk to anyone.
Yeah. Yeah, he's pretty focused.
Like he's just like, and when he was doing that with like Dr. Mbenga, I thought that he was gonna like fix it. I was like, oh, Hemmer's on it. Hemmer's gonna just cure everyone, and then he was already sick and he was just going crazy. But I like how he's just kind of like, he is like a genius, and he doesn't need to talk to anybody. He's just like, yeah, I got this.
Yeah. I hope he gets an episode soon.
He's gotta.
I was thinking if they do this 10 episode thing and you've got a cast of like 7 or 8 people, either everybody gets an episode or you may have to double up like they do in this episode. So, what else?
It's kind of a short episode.
Was it?
It's the shortest one yet. It was 45. Yeah.
Okay, it felt long.
Really?
Like, yeah, by the time they got to the end, because that was my thing with like having Mbenga is hiding. He's hiding his daughter, but then also he is hiding that he's sick and he's turning the thing up, and it's like kind of stacking those two deceptions. I thought was.
I didn't think he was hiding that he was sick. I just felt like he was trying to work for as long as he possibly could until it got beyond the point where he could kind of control it.
Yeah.
Because at first they're all
that
just
didn't come
like, oh,
through for me.
I think I'd like it if.
That didn't come
At
through.
first they're all just kind of like, I think I'd like it if it was a little brighter in here, And then
Yeah.
they're like, I think I'd like it if I could jump into the sun.
I think,
With,
yeah, just shoot me out of a torpedo tube. I think that they should have picked either the Una Illyria story or the Mbenga story, because
Yeah, I agree.
having Una be that, her metaphor really works because she's the Illyrian in this case, and they are, genetically engineered, and they end up becoming something that they were, different. And then having her energy powers, save the ship at the end, fine. Or the problem being that the contagion, whatever it was, got in through the medical transporter, then having Dr. Mbenga be partially controlled, influenced by this thing, but also the whole time, like, he's trying to hide that his daughter's in this thing. So midway through the episode, he could be like, I'll get right on it. And then we see him like, and you're like, oh, what's he doing? And then he's the antagonist for the rest of the time until they find out, oh, this is what's going on. But everybody kept...
I also love like an episode or like a B plot that was just like, oh, do not upgrade the transportors in like sick bay.
Yeah.
And then we find out why. That would have been fun.
Until finally, like, the XO's got to go down there, and she's like, why don't you just hit yes on the update? And he's like, okay, listen, my daughter's inside this thing. You're not going to believe this, but there's a kid in there.
I got a kid. There's a whole kid in there.
Yeah.
Got a whole little girl.
She's turning into a swan. All right, this is a big problem.
Somebody needs to read her Alice in Wonderland.
Yeah, right. For the millionth time. Yeah, I think that's pretty much all I had to say.
Why wouldn't he read her a new story?
Yeah, I don't know.
Even Spock got to hear Alice in Wonderland.
Does she? Yeah, that's true.
You know?
That's true. I'm sure. I guarantee the first thing that came up, and he reads Alice in Wonderland. They're like, I think we've hit that too much. What about something different? What about Cinderella or something?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much all that I had to say about the episode. Growing pains? I think maybe it's growing pains.
Yeah.
I didn't like this as much as the other two, but I think all of the mistakes that they made were in service of trying to build this world, and
yeah, absolutely. And it is like their first season. You know what I mean? Like they're going to have, not every episode is going to be like a banger. Not every episode is going to be like a top 10, US top 50, Star Trek top 50 hits.
Yeah. If they are to continue to ape TOS or TNG in their first season, what could we end up seeing? They go to a planet where women are in charge instead of men.
Love that. Lizzo is president.
Lizzo is the president.
Come on.
I don't know if we should cut this out or keep it so somebody picks it up.
I know. I'm like, Janelle Monáe. Okay.
Yes. They need to time travel at some point, at least once. Maybe there's a conspiracy where bugs have taken over Starfleet Command. And they have to blow up somebody's head. Maybe a real sweaty admiral is aging in reverse. We could do what about Code of Honor 2? Code of Honorer.
The Horda?
The Horda, yes.
I would love to see that.
I kill you.
Trials and tribulations and tribulations. Trials and tribulations.
Trials, 2 trials, 2 tribulations. That's what
2
you want.
trials, 4 tribulations.
Wow. That's way better. That's 4 times as good. That's it. Good night, everybody. Yeah. All right. Well, I think that's it for our show this week. But yeah, it was a good episode overall, I think, and I'm looking forward to what's coming up. I hope you are too, listeners. Thanks for joining us. If you like what you hear on this show, you can follow us at Facebook and also at Twitter at EISTPOD to get updates and to get notified when new episodes of Enterprising Individuals, our main show, and Discoverage are released. You can tweet to us on the show by using the hashtag Discoverage or email us at EISTPOD@gmail.com. And while you're on the internet, head to your listening platform of choice, subscribe to the show, give us a rating and a review because it really does help us out. And if you like the show, tell a friend. Discoverage will return next week on May 26th at 8 p.m. for the 4th episode of Star Trek Strange New Worlds first season. Now, that leak came out, so we know what we think the title and synopsis are, but they are not technically confirmed. So I will say that the leak says that the next episode is called Memento Mori, and the synopsis for that episode is Pike must find unconventional Starfleet methods to deal with a malevolent force that attacks the Enterprise. Maybe a big giant green hand? We don't know. But we'll be here next. Could be Abraham Lincoln? Yeah, that was 3rd season. I guess the hand was 2nd season.
Obama?
Just Barack Obama comes in. It's like his presidential portrait, right? He's in the chair, but he's kind of like leaning over and he flies in through space. Hello. Can I come more? Yeah. Anyway, we'll be here next Thursday to cover it. Thanks, Obama. We'll be going live once again at 8 p.m. Central. You can join us then. Follow us on Twitter or Facebook or right here on Twitch at EISTPOD to get notified when we're live and broadcasting. In the meantime, check out our main show, Enterprising Individuals. Every week on the show, I and a special guest discuss in excruciating detail one of the Star Trek films, and our latest episode just dropped. On it, I'm joined this week by Joe Mazel, one of the hosts of the podcast ABCD TOS, and we talk about Star Trek V, The Final Frontier. It's the lowest rated Star Trek film. But is it that bad? Yes. But is it? Yes, it is. But also maybe it's good. Find out by listening to the episode. All our episodes are available at enterprisingindividuals.com or wherever you get your podcasts. And I wanted to mention really fast that we also have a new episode of our sister podcast, Backtrekking. That's the podcast where Gooey Fame and I look at the real-world inspirations behind your favorite Trek episodes. Our latest episode, we discuss the 1985 Joe Dante film Explorers and its connections to the TOS episode, The Squire of Gothos. The lesson here is do not let your godlike alien kids watch too much TV. You can find Backtrekking at Backtrekking on Twitter or wherever you get your podcasts. Ella, thanks as always for joining me to talk about tonight's episode of Strange New Worlds and remind people where they can find you online.
Thank you. My home podcast is called Generations Geek. I do it with my dad. We talk about anything and everything. We have a big archive. And I am a, co-social media manager for Star Trek Unlimited. So if everyone wants to see about my San Francisco adventures,
yes,
I got some cute pictures to post there that I made my friend take of me, who again doesn't know anything about Star Trek, but she was along for the ride. She said full speed ahead. She said warp 10 on the pictures.
Okay, all right. We all have people in our life that put up with our love of Star Trek, I suppose. I can be found on Twitter at KA1IBAN. The show, of course, is at EISTPOD, and you can find all the shows on our network at Just Enough Trope on Twitter. And that is it for us for this week. We'll be back next week. Until then, we're signing off. This is Aaron for Ella saying, live long and prosper.